Hello everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. This is Angela, Company Secretary Manager from Korchina TNC. Today, we are going to share with you all about Hong Kong Company Renewal and Tax System. During our webinar, for any questions, you may drop your message on the chat box at the right-hand side. We will answer the questions in our Q&A section at the end of today's webinar and share relevant information afterward. And you can also click the live chat red button on the top to make an appointment with us for further discussion or consultation. In Hong Kong, the majority of companies are registered as companies limited by shares. So today we will introduce to you the key facts about company renewal for this private limited company by shares in Hong Kong. Every private limited company is required to appoint a company secretary. The company secretary must be Hong Kong residents or bodies corporate having their registered address in Hong Kong, while a local Hong Kong address as the registered address of the Hong Kong company must be provided to company registry, and the company should maintain the registered address in Hong Kong to receive all correspondence from the government departments. As long as the company is active, it is the obligation of Hong Kong company to maintain company secretary as well as registered office address in Hong Kong. Basically, the private limited company mainly deal with two government departments: the Company Registry (CR) and Inland Revenue Department (IRD), and the company limited by shares generally should comply with the company's audience, Inland Revenue audience, and business registration audience. After the company is incorporated, you should take care of annual reporting and government filings requirements for the company, and it is required to settle appropriate government fees on time to avoid late penalty. Furthermore, for any changes in the company particulars information as well as change in company structure, relevant filing should be arranged to the government departments in order to update the company record accordingly. Every Hong Kong limited company have to file their annual return with company registry and renew business registration certificates with Inland Revenue every year. The filing of annual return and renewal for business registration should be arranged together with the appropriate government fees before the due date to comply with audience. In Hong Kong, there are profit tax return and employer's return related to every corporate. The company should file the tax returns within the deadline, or else government penalties will be imposed to company for not reporting on time. And we will share with you the details in the second part of today's webinar. Annual return is a report notifies CR updated information and company structure. For company limited by shares, the annual return date is the anniversary of the date of incorporation. Please note that it is the duty of directors to ensure the annual return accurately reflects the affairs of the company as at the date of return. Whether the company structure has changed or not during the year, it is required to file the annual return with the latest company structure within 42 days from the anniversary date, and the annual return must be signed by director or secretary of company and to be filed with company registry with standard government fee to avoid any late penalty. Changes of the company particulars must be reported in the appropriate specified forms according to the relevant provisions of the government of the company audience. For any changes in particulars information of director and company secretary including address, passport number or name, etc., the company need to submit notification, which is a specified form, notice of change in particulars of company secretary and director to the CR within 15 days of the changes. Moreover, the notice of change of address of registered office is required to be delivered for registration within 15 days to report the change in the registered office address. Regarding register of significant controllers, if there is change in particulars of significant controllers or the location of the register is changed, the company should report to CR within 15 days of the changes. For business registration certificates, business operators may select for issue of the certificates that are valid for 1 year or 3 years. To renew the business registration certificates, business registration fee should be paid to IRD within 30 days from the anniversary date in order to obtain the updated certificates. The business registration fee amount may be adjusted by the Hong Kong government in different financial year and it should be renewed on time to avoid any penalty. In case the company has branch business registration, please be aware to renew the business registration certificates for branch on time as well. If there is change in business address or the company's business nature is changed, please note that it is required to notify IRD in the specified forms to update company's record. Notice of change of business address and notice of change of business nature should be signed by director or secretary of company and submit to IRD within 1 month of the changes. The following is the issue that all of you may really concern about, which is the tax filing. So now we will move on to our second part of today's webinar. Here we have our Senior Audit Manager, Alan, to share about the Hong Kong tax system and case study.
Hello, this is Alan. Today, I would like to provide case study of the Hong Kong tax system. First, let's talk about the employer's return and sales tax. The tax year is from 1st of April to 31st March of the following year. Employer has reporting obligation for all its employees in respective whether the employee renders service in or outside Hong Kong if their total income exceeds the reporting limit. Employer's return is normally issued on the first working day of April, and the filing deadline is 1 month from the issue date of the return. Sales tax is charged on all income arising in or derived from Hong Kong from any office, employment, or pension. Employees who have their work base during the year outside Hong Kong and who do not spend more than 60 days physically in Hong Kong will be exempted from salary tax. Salary tax return is normally issued on the first working day of May, and the filing deadline is 1 month from the day of the return, from the issue date of the return. Let's turn to the profits tax. Unlike the employer's return and salary tax return, Hong Kong companies can freely choose accounting year-end date. For companies having their year-end date between April to November, the tax filing deadline is 2nd of May of the following year. December year-end date companies have their tax filing deadline on 15th of August of the following year. Companies having accounting year-end between January and March, the tax filing deadline is 15th November of the same year. The first profits tax return is issued around 18 months after the date of incorporation, and the tax filing deadline is 3 months from the issue date of the return. Let's see some example of profit tax filing. If the accounting year-end date is 30th June 2020, the profit tax filing deadline is 2nd May 2021. If the accounting year-end date is 31st December 2020, the filing deadline is 15 August 2021. And if the accounting year-end date is 31st January or 31st March 2021, the profits tax filing deadline is 15 November 2021. Lastly, if the accounting year-end date is 30th April 2021, the profits tax filing deadline is 2nd of May 2022. You can see that the company has at least 7.5 months after the year-end date for preparing profits tax filing. Now, we can see some first return examples. If the incorporation date is in March 2020, the first profits tax return is expected to issue in September or October 2021, and the filing deadline is December 2021 or January 2022. If the incorporation date is in June 2020, the first return is expected to issue in December 2021 or January 2022, and the filing deadline is March or April 2022. And if the incorporation date is in September 2020, the first return is expected to issue in March or April 2022, and the tax filing deadline is June or July 2022. And if the incorporation date is in December 2020, the first return is expected to issue in June or July 2022, and the filing deadline is September or October 2022. Therefore, the newly incorporated company has 21 months after the date of incorporation to submit the first profits tax return. Let's talk about the profit tax rate. The normal tax rate is 16.5% for limited companies and 15% for unincorporated business, such as partnership. From 1st April 2018, two-tier tax rate regime was introduced. Under this regime, eligible companies can reduce half of the tax rate for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars assessable profit. That means 8.25% for limited companies and 7.5% for unincorporated business. Moreover, capital gains, dividend to shareholder, and profits sourced outside Hong Kong are tax exempted. On the other hand, in order to protect tax revenue, provisional tax may be charged based on current year assessable profit. There are some tax scenarios of two-tier tax rate regime. If the company has 1 million Hong Kong dollar assessable profit, the tax amount is 1 million Hong Kong dollar times 8.25%. That is 82,500 Hong Kong dollar. The effective tax rate is 8.25%. The second case is 3 million Hong Kong dollar assessable profit. Then the tax amount is 2 million Hong Kong dollar times 8.25% plus 1 million Hong Kong dollar times 16.5%. That is 330,000 Hong Kong dollar. In this case, the effective tax rate is 11%. The last one is 5 million Hong Kong dollar assessable profit. Then the taxable amount is 2 million Hong Kong dollar times 8.25% plus 3 million Hong Kong dollar times 16.5%. That is 660,000 Hong Kong dollar in total. The effective tax rate is 13.2%. That's the end of our presentation today. We hope that the information we have shared is helpful for you to understand about company renewal as well as tax system in Hong Kong. Now is the Q&A time, and let me invite Angela again to join us. So let us review some key questions from the customer first. The first one is, are the reporting periods between employer's return and profit tax return different? Yes, if the company's accounting year-end date is not 31st March, the reporting periods are different. The reporting period of the employee's return is from 1st April to 31st March of the following year. On the other hand, the reporting period of profit tax return is accounting period. Are management accounts sufficient for the completion of tax filing? No. Completed profit tax returns should be submitted together with the audited financial statements and tax computation report. What is the tax rate of dividend income received by a Hong Kong company? Dividend income, whether from Hong Kong or overseas, is not taxable.
After incorporating the company, is it required to visit Hong Kong to renew the company for the second year? For company renewal, annual return filing and the business registration certificate renewal can be done by secretary on behalf of the company, and director's physical visits is not required. Here is the question. Is a private limited company required to file the annual return together with the financial statements? No, it is not required for the private limited company to file the annual return with financial statements.
Now let's take a look of the live questions. What documents should be submitted in profit tax filing? The tax filing should be include the profit tax return, audited financial statements, and the tax computation report.
If the information in the last annual return has not changed, do I need to file the annual return? The answer is yes. Even if the information of the company contained in the last annual return filed to the CR remain no change, it is still required the company to file the annual return every year.
Can I, as a foreign citizen, work for a company registered in Hong Kong? What tax will the company and me have to pay? In Hong Kong, if you work in Hong Kong, then your salary income is subject to Hong Kong sales tax. And for the company, because it is a Hong Kong company, so that it also needs to pay the profits tax. That's for all our Q&A sessions. Hope that today's webinar can help you to get know more about Hong Kong company renewal and the tax system. That's the end of our presentation. Please feel free to contact us for any queries. Thank you for your time. We are Korchina TNC and hope to see you again on next webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.